Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm Loudguns, and today we're going to take a look at the mining modules. So this is a bit of an update on the previous video I did. So obviously when 3.13 went live to the PTU for the first time, I did a trip across Stanton to work out what all the mining modules were, where they were located. Obviously, one of the problems with the PTU environment is that things change around quite a lot, and sometimes mistakes make it into a PTU build, which might get corrected ahead of a PU. So a couple of the mining modules changed on me. The numbers that were in the descriptions at the time I recorded that video weren't quite right, so there are a couple of modules to just correct. But also, I've had a bit of a chance to do some more extensive testing. Had the luxury of a Monday off, so hence you're getting 2 videos in 2 days. So I thought one for the bounty hunters and one for the industrialists. I'm aware that Starkit and Armor doesn't exactly say mining tutorial video, but I think it's a really cool bit of subflare, so I wanted to show it off. I'm gonna try and sort of share the results of my testing in this video, but just to keep in mind that sort of I really want to hear if you guys have any thoughts. If you've put together any particular builds of the new modules, how you're thinking they'll change the way that you mine. So these are just my thoughts. If you want to, please feel free to get in touch in the comments. I try and read and respond to all of them. So yeah, just let me know what you guys are doing. Also, if this content's interesting for you, I try and put as much out as I can, so please consider subscribing to the channel. I saw it tick over 700 subscribers today, which I never thought I'd get to. So if we can keep that going, that would be amazing. We also have a Discord, so the link to that's in the video description down below. Please feel free to just pop in and say hi. We have a really chilled group, but we all like to geek out on all things Star Citizen, so feel free to drop in there. So just in case you missed the previous video on the new mining modules, these are items which go into the same slot as the previous consumables did on a mining laser, and they affect the way in which your laser operates. So first we're going to take a look at all of the mining consumables again, just to refresh and just to cover those couple that I mentioned that have changed. Then we're going to take a look at answering a few questions which have come up. So one of them is, what will happen if my ship blows up or if I 30k? And the second one is whether modules stack. So basically, if you use 2 or more of the same type of module, do the effects stack on top of each other? I don't believe in saving back all the juicy information till later in the video, so I can tell you now the answer is you lose the modules if your ship blows up, and yes, they do stack. But if you're interested in seeing me display the findings, then stick around. Finally, I'm going to do some timed runs with the mole. One using the old consumables, which were already in game. And a second one using a new build with the new mining modules worked in to see if it will notably increase our speed so we can min-max more efficiently. So I'm going to go through each of these modules, but if you do want, there's this table of the mining modules that I've put together. You can either pause at this point or I'll put the link to my Google Drive down in the video description below. And some of you might remember from a previous video, I've put together this mining quick reference guide for my org, so this compiles all of the information, including sort of mineable pricing, what different consumables do, what different lasers do, and now what the modules do. So that's all updated. Link to that's also going to be in the video description. So just a very quick reminder as well, each of the modules fits into a family, and there are 3 different ones within that, sort of a worst, middle, best. They get more expensive as they go up, but effectively each module will do a positive and a negative. So as you go up the quality level, the extent of the positive gets larger and the extent of the negative gets smaller. So I'm going to focus on the best of each of these and just give a overarching view of the positives and negatives. So one of the ones with slight changes versus last time is the VO. So the positive still is a reduction in instability, but they've changed it to be a reduction in the optimal charge window as it's negative. So the VO C3 is the best version here, costs you 20,000 AUEC, reduces instability 10%, reduces the optimal charge window by 4%. So the XTR has also changed a bit. So this one primarily is used for increasing extraction rate. So that's the upside to it, but the downside is you lose laser power. So CIG just got these the wrong way round, and it was a bit of an anomaly in that the highest quality version had a -4% laser power, while the lowest quality had -2. So they've changed that now, so it's the best one is -2, the worst is -4. So the rest have stayed the same, but just a quick recap on them. The FLTR series will reduce the amount of inert materials that you pick up, but it also reduces the extraction rate. The focus modules reduce resistance, but at the cost of increased instability. Riga modules increase the optimal charge window, but that comes at the cost of increased resistance. And finally, the torrent modules increase your laser's power, but that comes at the cost of increased instability. So one of the questions I wanted to answer was what happens if you blow up while you've got these attached. So the consumables already, basically you lose them if your ship blows up or if you 30k and have to claim your ship. So I wanted to check if the same would happen to the mining modules, particularly considering once you hit that sort of highest quality level, these things get really quite expensive, some of them costing as much as 60,000. So I didn't want to throw my money away, so I equipped my Prospector with 3 different modules from the first tier, so they didn't cost me too much. I also just made sure I'd got only one of each of these in my inventory, so it was really easy to see if I got it back or not. Then, you know, for science. So, having woken up from what I can only think of as a terrible dream, I'm having a look down my list to see if any of these modules are still here. They are not. And indeed, it would seem that if you crash with the modules attached, which I guess also extends to if you have to claim your ship because you 30k, then it's safe to assume that at the moment, at least, you lose them. I don't know if this is intended by CIG. I did test as well, just expediting the claim on my ship to see if they would appear when my ship was fully claimed, but they didn't. So personally, this is a bit of a concern for me in terms of recommending that anybody use the modules to improve their mining. Server stability is still an issue in Star Citizen. Sometimes you're going to crash, and if you crash with the current consumables, then that's going to cost you a few thousand. But if you lose all of these modules, if you've done a build which includes a lot of the new ones, then you could, at the higher quality end of things, be looking at sort of a crash which cost you a couple of 100,000 credits. I don't know if this is intentional or not. It's something which I personally think should change. I think sort of in the same way to ship parts like your quantum drive, which gets replaced when you have an insurance claim. I think that these modules should also get replaced because some of them cost as much as power plants, quantum drives, shields, that sort of thing. Obviously, we have no real idea where CIG are going to go with the insurance mechanic, but you could draw some read across from something like Elite Dangerous. So I quite liked the way the insurance system worked there, where basically as you added more and more parts to your ship, your insurance claim would get higher and higher. So your costs of insuring and sort of paying for your the return of your ship it would come with all the parts, but if you upgraded a lot of parts, then that cost would go up too. So the next question I wanted to answer was whether mining modules stack or not. So in this instance, what I've done is equip my mole all with Lancet MH2 lasers, so that's going to be even across the board. And then I've put one Focus 3 module on my slot 1 laser, 2 Focus 3 modules on the number 2, and 3 of these Focus 3 modules on the third laser. So the focus is reduce resistance by 10% and increase instability by 10%. So we're going to go find a rock and check to see if those stack up. So I've found an asteroid just outside the station. I'm going to just try with one of these Focus 3 modules. And if I start the laser up, that drops the resistance to 0.07. Instability is at 0.48. So we'll just try from the second laser now. So in laser 2, we've got 2 of these focus modules. And when we turn it on, we'll see that instability is higher at 0.5, but we dropped the resistance to 0.06. So can confirm they do stack. Just to be a completionist about this, the view from turret 3 with 3 of these Focus 3 modules, instability up to 0.52, but resistance down to 0.05. So yeah, good to see that we can stack these up if we like their features. So to round this out a bit, I'm going to do 2 tests, mining 2 Quantanium rocks using my mole. For the first one, I'm going to use this build, which is just the original one I ran with. So I'm using a Lancet laser in turret slot 1, which is the one which sits directly under the flight deck. That's got a surge module to help just break the rock to begin with. Then I've got Brant, which is what I'm mainly going to use. And that's to reduce the resistance and instability. It drops both of those by a further 75%. I've got a lifeline module in there as well. That's just my oh no button, effectively, if I were to overcook a rock. So to keep things fair between the 2 comparisons, what I'm going to do is break one Quantanium rock containing a decent amount of quant into all of its individual pieces, whether they contain Quantanium or not. And then I'm going to extract the whole lot. So an average asteroid is about 5,000 mass. And in general, the mole can fill its capacity with a full one. So for this, I've managed to find a decent Quantanium rock. And I'm just going to move into position, and I'm going to start the clock from the moment that I get out of the seat. So to keep it all fair for a test, I'm going to hit go on the timer at the point that I start getting out of the chair here. And I'm going to split this up, so we're going to run one timer for the breaking of the rock, so the cracking. And then at the moment that I switch over to the extraction mode, I'm going to start the timer again, so that we get different times for how long it takes us to break the rock and how long it takes us to extract it. So in the interest of keeping this video a watchable amount of time, I'm going to speed things up here, but I'll leave the clock running sort of in real time as such, so that it's still counting how long these things take. So I'm going to speed this up greatly so that we don't sit here all day, but I'm going to use the surge module to crack this rock nice and quickly. I realise everything looks like it's gone horribly wrong when you're watching this at 8 times speed, but I assure you this was all a clean break. So then I go around and I break up each individual piece with a yellow outline. Some of these contained Quantanium, some of them didn't. What I wanted was to try and get a repeatable experiment. So I figured if I broke every rock and then extracted the full thing, then that would help. So I'm using the Brant module on some of the tougher pieces, the bits like this, which are 100% quant, just to get that resistance and instability down to enable me to make a quick, clean break. Downside to the Brant is it does reduce your charge time. So we switch over to extraction mode, and we're just going to extract every part of this rock, just so that this is repeatable when we go back to it. So obviously the Lancet laser is not the quickest at extracting. In fact, I think it's one of the slowest. So that is a bit of a downside to this laser. But as we approach 100% full, just make sure that we get each last little bit. I'm just going to also time myself getting out of the seat and going back to the pilot seat. And there we go. So it took 8 minutes 28 to crack. Then it took 5 minutes 26 to extract, which gave us a total time for this old build of 13 minutes 54. So now for something a bit different, using the new modules. So I've set this up, instead of doing it all from one laser, I'm going to use two of them. So turret weapon slot 2 is going to be my cracking laser. So I'm going to use the Lancet again because of its instability and resistance buffs. I'm still going to use a surge module because I think that's particularly important for that first break. Then I'm going to use the VOE C3, which reduces instability by 10% at the cost of a -4% to my optimal charge window. But I'm not too worried about that because the Lancet also comes with an increase of 40% to the optimal charge window. And then I'm going to offset it with the focus, which reduces resistance. That increases stability, but it's -10% resistance, instability +4. So those are going to net each other off in instability. So I'm going to get to -6% instability, -10% resistance. And then I'm going to suffer that debuff of that -4% to my charge window. In turret slot 3, which is the one on the right hand side of the mole, I'm going to equip a Helix, and I'm fully kitting it out to extract as quickly as possible. So I've just got 3 XTR XLs in there. They each increase the extraction rate by 50%. The payoff is laser power, that reduces, but it doesn't matter because I'm purely using that Helix laser to extract. On top of it, the Helix laser has a quicker extraction time than the Lancet as well, but I am going to have to move between those lasers. So what I would absolutely love to be able to do is spawn in exactly the same rock as I mined before in the first example, but unfortunately I can't do that. So what I've had to do is search out an also decent level Quantanium rock. So this one's 43%. Not quite a direct comparison because it's a bit smaller in terms of mass, but this was about as good as I could do. So I'm going to move in on the rock. I'm going to make sure I'm in optimal range, and then we'll do the timing again. So I'm on station here, and I'm going to start the clock again as my my finger goes down on Y to get out of the seat. And this time I've got to run down to the lower deck. The logic behind putting both lasers on the lower deck is there's only one ladder to go down. And I've opted for the laser where I break in the left-hand side because the clock starts ticking on me once I start extracting. So I wanted the extraction laser to be the one closest to the ladder to get me back up to the bridge as quickly as possible. So same process here, I'm going to drop the surge, but then this time I've just got the passive effects of the modules on the go. So I'll speed it up from this point, because I think you guys have probably all watched me mine enough rocks by now. So I will add a couple of disclaimers on this because I couldn't find exactly the same rock to just mine again. I did, I think, have a bit of an easier time of it on this one. Because that rock was that lower mass, the surge got me basically straight into the green zone, then keeping it there is pretty easy. The one thing I will say is that I did feel on the higher grade bits of Quantanium that came off this, like this 100% here, I did feel it was trickier. So it was sort of dropping out of the green zone a bit more on me. I'm sure it's still easy enough to do, but maybe if you're starting out, sort of the brand is a bit more forgiving, so it does make it a bit easier. So at this point we switch over to the extraction timing. including that time to switch the seats. But this Helix laser with all these extra modules stacked on it really did go like a rocket. And that's even with factoring in the time to change the seats and get down to the lower deck back up from there. So when all was said and done, that run took 11 minutes and 5 seconds. So I did manage to shave 2 minutes and 49 seconds off my run. The main benefit came from the extracting laser though, so that was plus 2 minutes and 19 seconds of that. The cracking was 30 seconds quicker with the new laser. Part of that would be because the Brandt module slows down your charge time, but I do feel that a big part of that was that the first rock was slightly harder to crack in terms of mass. So the one thing that does just put me off the new modules, like I said before, was the fact that you lose them when if you crash, either through ineptitude or through server performance. So that build at the end, that would have cost me 120,000 credits in terms of module expenditure, versus a few thousand to get a couple of Brandts. And the surges are the same on both of them. So I do feel that just for the sake of a couple of minutes, I'm not sure that it makes the most sense at the moment with things how they are. But one thing I might experiment with is keeping my standard build for the cracking laser and then still sort of beefing up that extraction laser. Somewhere where I think the new modules are particularly useful is for prospector pilots, that FLTR one with the reduction in the inert materials. I think that's maybe worth taking the risk on, because sort of obviously for prospectors, your downside is that you can only hold that 32 SCU, whereas the mole, you can just cram it in. You've got that 96. So for prospectors, taking home dirt really does hurt your returns. So if you can avoid that, reduce it, then you'll greatly improve your profitability. So I think that's probably worth investing in as a prospector pilot. So I hope that was all useful for you. Like I said, if you do find this content interesting, then please let me know. Let me know if you've got any interesting ideas for different builds. Obviously, it's still early days, so yeah, if you find anything interesting out, then just drop it in the comments below or come and say hi on Discord. So finally, thank you for watching. If you haven't already, then please consider hitting that subscribe button, and I'll keep trying to push content out your way. So thanks very much, and I'll see you out there.